I assume, but you slapped him with an open hand?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened next?
He exited the vehicle, went into the store, and called the police, from what I know.
So he got out of the car, he didn't confront you.
Oh, he confronted me, man. He was yelling.
How did he confront you?
He was cussing, he was yelling, saying he's going to go call the police.
And that's what he did?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what happened next?
He came out of the store. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him making a fist up like he was going to hit me, and I dropped him on his butt. I did a slide kick and dropped him on his butt.
Okay, let's do this slowly. Had you finished with your car, filling up your car?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he say anything to you?
Oh, yeah, he was cussing.
And the next physical thing that happened was what?
Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him reaching up to hit me, and I drop slide kicked him, put him on the ground.
What happened next?
Kevin Fritz ran up from behind, from what witnesses say. But
You didn't see anything else?
I didn't see anything till after.
That's the last thing you remember, drop kicking his friend to the ground.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you woke up?
No, ma'am, no. I'd never lost consciousness. What happened was Kevin Fritz came from behind, from what witnesses say.
You can't tell me what witnesses say, sir.
But this is the key fact. I remember him hitting me in the forehead where I've got a permanent scar, and I remember seeing him.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think that he denies that. Is that right?
That's right.
Did the police arrive subsequently?
Shortly after.
You have the police reports?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them.
There's some medical records in here, ma'am.
I'd like to see those.
I want to keep them confidential.
Okay. Were you with anyone else, sir?
Yes, I was.
What's the name of the person you were with?
Daniel.
All right, Mr. Fritz, I'd like to hear your version of these events. You and your friends are driving in a car, perhaps a little too quickly. What happened next?
I was the one driving. Jesse was a passenger, obviously. We had Amber, a friend of ours, in the back. We heard just screaming. It was cussing and vulgarities. And we looked outside, and there he was, like 20 feet away, screaming at us, and we didn't know what for, so we, obviously started screaming back. And as he went up to the car, Jesse reaches to roll up the window, shut him out.
What'd you go into the gas station for in the first place?
We were using the phone. And as we pull off, we hear him screaming and cussing, and Jesse reaches to roll up the window because, you're thinking, what is he doing, blah, blah, blah. And he slaps him. So I put the car in reverse. We pull back up to the phone that we were just at, and we're like, all right, that's assault, Jesse, go call the police. He walks into the Dodger store to use the telephone, and as he walks out...
And you're sitting in the car?
Yes, me and Amber.
While you were sitting in the car, did you notice where Mr. Griffiths was?
Yes, he walked back to his truck as Jesse went into the store.
Where did he go when he came out?
He got about 10 feet away before they started arguing. Jesse told him he just called the police. Don't take off, the police are coming, I'm gonna file a charge on you, assault. Me and Amber were talking, and second I looked up, all I knew is Mr. Griffith and his buddy were hovering over Jesse, and he was on the ground.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hondo Griffiths claims 19-year-old Kevin Fritz attacked him with a socket wrench. Kevin says he was defending his friend.
What did you do?
Whenever I looked up, I just saw him on the ground, and I knew I had no idea what they had done to him. I just knew he was on the ground or whatever else. I grabbed a socket wrench that was under the front seat and ran over there screaming at him and got no response, to where I hit him and his buddy came around Jesse swinging at me like, oh, crazy or whatever, hit me one time, and so I retaliated and hit him. And I got Jesse and I was like, all right, let's go to the car. The cops are coming anyway, because I didn't know if they had a gun in the car or knife or if they're gonna retaliate back on what I just had done. Anything's possible after that point. So we take off, get less than a block away, and they tell us to come back to the store. We did.
But Jesse.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to hear you. The first thing that happened that you remember, first physical contact, was being slapped by Mr. Griffin. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me how that happened.
Like Kevin said, I was in the car and we were driving off and we heard somebody yelling at us and we didn't know what it was for. Realized he was shouting about the way we were driving because I listened to part of what he said and I shouted back at him and he comes up to the window. He's shouting right by the window, I guess, for like 10 seconds or so, and I don't want him in my face anymore, so I reach to roll up the window and he slaps me at that point, and so I get out of the car.
You got angry, as you rightfully should have. Got out and made a phone call and called the police. Now I want you to tell me what happened when you came out.
Well, I came out of the building and I notified them that I had called the police.
What did you say to him?
I said, well, before I went in the building, I told him I was going to call the cops. And I told them that they were on their way to stay here. And we started yelling. I can't remember exactly what we were saying. We were still really, adrenaline was pumping. We were still really just going at it. And then he came up to me and like punched me like this, you know, on my chest, and then swept kicked me on my feet and got me on the ground.
What happened when you fell to the ground?
He got even closer and just stood over me like this and looking down at me. And
Did you see a second person?
Yes, ma'am. He basically followed what Hondo was doing and stood over me.
Just stood over you?
Stood over me.
Are you in possession of any other police reports?
I think we have some, yeah.
Ask your mom if she can help you. I
Find
want to
these
make sure I
papers
have
here.
them all.
It's all spread out.
This is it right here. That's a police report.
Do you want me to bring it up to you?
What are you doing with a wrench in the car?
It was actually supposed to be in the trunk at the time, and we had used it before to help somebody with changing out a tire or something, and we just kept it in the front.
Did you keep it in the front for protection, Mr. Fritz?
It wasn't my car,
Whose car was it?
Jesse's.
So it was your car. Did you
Yes,
keep
ma'am.
that wrench in front there for protection?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
All right. Don't bull me, please, because
Oh.
that's not a smart thing to do,
Yes, ma'am.
right? If you were older, it wouldn't be smarter. At your age, to try to fool me is really an act of stupidity. You have the appellate decision?
Yes.
This isn't the appellate decision.
That is what they gave us. In January 31st, we went back to court, and it was dismissed. I do have, though, from the Tennessee Claims Commission, Hondo evidently tried to get victims' compensation, and he was denied that because it was obvious that it was his fault.
Mr. Fritz, how many days did you spend in juvenile detention?
32 days.
Was that your first time in juvenile detention?
No, it wasn't.
When was the time immediately preceding that?
When I was 16,
For what?
unruly. It was actually a runaway charge.
Other than the, what we call a person in need of supervision, unruly, had you ever been arrested for a crime before?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
Again, when I was 16.
For what?
It was a DUI.
So one DUI, one incorrigible, and one assault,
Yes, ma'am.
all by the time you're 16. And what about you, Mr. Letterman?
Yes, ma'am. I had been arrested for petty theft at a gas station.
Is that your only arrest, Mr. Letterman?
Yes, ma'am. At that time, it was.
And now?
No.
What do you mean at that time?
Well, at that time, it was. I had a little bout with a credit card that they gave me checks for, and I wrote them for over the amount, so they got treated as personal checks, and I got 2 arrests for those.
Bad checks.
Yes, ma'am.
And how old were you when you had these bad checks?
I wrote them when I was like 18, I guess, and they just came through and served a warrant on them.
You should never give kids who are 18 years old a credit card and those blank checks. You had a bench trial with regard to this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And the judge found you guilty.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did your family hire a lawyer, or did you use a state lawyer?
We had an attorney.
Did you pay the attorney?
Yes, we did.
How much?
I'm not sure.
We had a public defender at that time.
You had a public defender.
All right. Well, I was a juvenile, yeah. Public defender.
Mr. Fritz, I'm going to give you some very good advice that's going to last you for a long time. Sometimes people have problems saying these words, but I want you to listen to them very carefully. I don't know. When somebody asks you a question and you really don't have the information, you don't make something up. You say, I don't know.
Okay.
Guys sometimes have a problem saying that. So they make up things.
All right.
And we call them a Fritz fact, you know.
Say that again?
We'd call that a Fritz fact rather than the truth.
A Fritz
A
fact.
Fritz fact. That's your
my
last name.
last name.
It's a Fritz fact.
Right.
Not necessarily true, but something
Wow.
that you made up. So when I ask you a question, I expect an answer.
I was pretty sure that we had hired him, so I didn't know.
Well, I guarantee you that if your family had spent $15,000 or $20,000 on
I'd
a
probably
lawyer,
hear
you would
about
have
it.
known.
Yeah, I'd probably hear about it.
All right, Mr. Griffith. All boils down to this. Did your actions precipitate what happened that day? And if they did they precipitate them to the extent that the defendant was justified in taking the action he did?
No, ma'am.
Oh, I think that they did. You did not go up to this car and slap this young man for the purposes of defending yourself. If you did, given what little we know about you, you were in the Marine Corps,
No, ma'am.
military,
Yes, ma'am.
you would have grabbed him by the collar, pulled him out of the car if you felt as if you were in danger.
Not necessarily so, ma'am.
Oh, well, that's what I think. And what I think is the only thing that's important. What you did was you humiliated him. You were shouting obscenities at each other. You approached the passenger side of the car and you slapped him. You can't do that.
May I say something, please?
No, you told me your story. You have absolutely no right, because you could have extricated yourself very easily from the situation by getting in your truck, which was already filled up with gas, and leaving. Chose not to do that. You chose to continue to engage in a confrontation, and you went up there, and the first physical movement was you touching him. Now, you didn't hurt him. You slapped him. You humiliated him. And what did he do? He did not get out of the car to punch you. He said, I'm going in to call the police. Did what he was supposed to do. Now, you would have me believe, Mr. Griffith, that after he went inside and called the police to come and respond because he had been assaulted, his intention was to come outside and assault you while he was waiting for the police to come. Because that's what you said to me. You said he came out and he had a fist up as if he was going to hit me. Doesn't make sense. I mean, he may be a stupid kid, but he's not crazy. You don't call the police and then
I'm sorry.
We'll get to your case in a minute. You don't do that. No normal person does that. Calls the police and said, well, now I'm going to assault him and really give it to him. You were still angry, and you kicked him. That was the second physical contact initiated by you, Mr. Griffin. And then your friend came over, and now there are two people over him. All he sees is his friend down, being hit for the second time.
It's not true, ma'am.
That's what you told me.
I didn't say anything about afterwards. My friend ran up to protect me and tackled him.
No. Sir, you just testified, Mr. Griffin, that he came out of the store, you were yelling and screaming back at one another, he balled up a fist as if he was going to hit you, and you drop-kicked him to the ground. When Mr. Fritz turned around and saw you and around him, knowing you had slapped him before, and for one reason or another, he's down on the ground now, he took action to protect his friend. And that's what the appellate court, in all probability, said, that this was an unfortunate incident, but certainly not one for which he should be held criminally responsible, because the physical part of this altercation was initiated by you. So, sir, your complaint is dismissed. Now, let us get to your counterclaim, which is also dismissed, because as cute as you are here today, I have a feeling you're a wise guy. Now, was there another way that you could have dealt with this other than hitting him over the head with a socket wrench? Perhaps. Perhaps. Do I think that you were maybe a little bit out of control that day, driving your car in a fashion that almost hurt Mr. Griffith? Perhaps. The justice system worked because you were found guilty by one judge beyond a reasonable doubt. The second appeal, which they went over all of the records, which they clearly found that there was substantial evidence, not evidence beyond a reasonable doubt, substantial evidence, far more evidence than I need at this trial found that you were guilty. I certainly hope that the next 30 or 40 years of your life is spent outside the court system. Are you living at home now?
No, ma'am.
Where are you living?
In an apartment,
How old are you?
19.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a cook at Hooters.
See what I mean? Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My best friend for 6 years, and roommate at the time on the ground. I wasn't thinking clearly.
He missed the back of my head, and when I spun around, because I felt the wind upswing, he hit between my eyes.
All I could think of is just, hey, get these people to stop.
He left the scene. Both of them did.
They go back to
Nursing assistant Julia Shariat is suing her former landlord, 63-year-old Bernard Southard, for 2 months' rent, a security deposit, and sexual harassment.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 170 on the calendar in the matter of Shariat versus Southard. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Shariat, according to the complaint that I've read, you rented an apartment from the defendant. The apartment was on his property, adjacent to a shop that he had, some sort of shop where he did work. You moved into the apartment in September of 2000, is that
Yes.
right? And it is your claim that you lived there from September, October, November, December, and moved out sometime in January, is that right?
No, I had a 6-month lease, which would have ended the end of
I
February.
asked when you moved out.
Okay, I stayed 2 more months after this. It was I moved out. April. I was forced to move out.
Just
April
just tell
6th.
me when you moved out.
April 6th.
So you stayed beyond your lease.
Yes.
And you want many things. You want him to pay you for 2 months' rent. You want him to reimburse you for your security deposit. You are charging him with sexual harassment. And you are charging him with an excessive electricity bill because you say that your apartment was also hooked up to his shop. So you got an excessive electricity bill.
Yes.
That's what you want.
Yes.
Ah, okay. What problems do you claim that the defendant caused you that would inspire me to return rent to you?
Okay. I ended up in the hospital 4 different times.
When? When was the first time?
11/28 is the first hospital report I had.
November 28th.
Yeah.
And what were you hospitalized for?
Well, I went in there for chemical poisoning, which they couldn't test for because there's 150 chemicals out there. But it ended up I had a carbon monoxide level of 10.1.
Okay, that's in November.
10.5,
Ms.
yeah.
Shariat, listen to me. That's in November.
Yeah,
Then you went back to the apartment.
yeah.
When were you hospitalized again?
Okay, the next one was January 5th.
And why did you go to the hospital January 5th?
That time I was vomiting profusely within 1 hour. And again, they detected even a higher carbon monoxide level. That came to 12.1%.
Okay, and then you went back to your apartment.
No, they said don't go back. It's health hazardous. I
So-
checked into a crisis shelter.
But you told me you stayed in the apartment until April 6th.
Well, I was going to tell you I couldn't for 6 days. I was at a crisis shelter. I was too ill.
But then
I
you
did
went
go
back
back.
to the apartment.
I did go back after that.
Okay, and you stayed then in January, and in February, and in March. Is that right?
Yes, and I also...
When was your next hospitalization?
Okay, it was in April, the beginning of April.
No, that amounts to 3.
Yes.
You said you were hospitalized 4 times while you were living there.
No, I have 3 reports. I did make a mistake. I did go to an allergist. I may have counted that, feeling ill, but it was not the hospital.
Okay.
I have an
now
allergist report.
Now, what rent do you want him to give you back?
I feel after the end of November that it was a very miserable situation.
Then you should have moved.
I had nowhere to move, and I had a 6-month
That's not his
lease.
problem. That's not his problem. You don't live out the terms of your lease. I mean, unless there's something wrong
Well,
with you.
it's better than going back into a slum apartment where I came from.
Then that's the choice you made, right?
Yeah.
You stayed there November when you felt sick. You stayed there December, you felt
Yeah.
sick. You stayed December, January,
Yeah.
February, March. Then you move out in April, and
Yeah.
then you sue him for rent. Forget rent. Forget it. All right, let's get to the security deposit. Did he keep your security deposit?
Oh, yeah.
How much was your security deposit?
$400. And I
Did
also...
she give what?
Excuse me. I also paid $400 in April and had to leave on the 6th.
Okay. Did she give you $400 for April?
Yes, ma'am. She did not have all of her stuff out by the end of April.
Just a minute.
Also,
When did you move out all of your stuff?
Had to stay with my friend.
I don't care what. I don't care
And
where
I
to
came
stay.
back on the 13th, and I tried to start moving it. I was unable to because of the
If your
fumes.
stuff is there, you're there.
Okay, it was completely moved out April 16th.
Why did you keep her security deposit?
I have pictures here where she busted down one of the beds that was left in there for him to use, unrepairable. And also, I have pictures of the apartment, what the apartment was here, but also a spot on the carpet in the front room coming in that will not come up, and the shower stall, which was left so dirty in the bottom that the stains will not come out of the
Your
bottom.
Show
Honor?
me the bills to have all of that stuff fixed.
Your Honor. Shh. Oh,
Show me
sorry.
the bills to have all of that stuff fixed. Either you paid to have it fixed, or you have estimates
I
about
did
how.
not have the bills on it. The bed was unrepairable, so I got rid of it.
Forget it. She gets her security back. Unless you have bills to show me what it costs to clean the carpet, repair the carpet, clean up the shower, anything else, she gets her security deposit back. Do you understand that? How
Yes.
much was her security deposit? $400?
Yes.
Good. Perfect. So it's $400 on her side, but no rent. You stayed, that's your problem. Now, let's get to the electricity bill.
Okay. It comes to $1,032 right here. And I have an inspector's report showing that he was
For how many
using-
months is the $1,032?
For the entire time I was able to live there. That would be until April 6th.
So September, October, November, December, January, February, March, part of April. So you're talking about almost 8 months. Is that right?
Yes. But the thing is, I had virtually no heat while I was living there.
Just a minute. $129 a month. Now, is there electric heat?
Yes. In one room.
Is the electricity from her apartment tied into any other area in your home or business?
Yes.
Which place? The shop?
The shop, it wasn't used. It's used to run an air compressor once in a while.
She's not going to pay for that.
Okay, and some fluorescent lights in there once in a while. It was hardly there.
Well, how were you supposed to divide this electricity bill? She shouldn't
Okay.
be responsible for all
She
of the
did not
electricity.
pay any of the water bill. I took care of the water bill, and when she moved in, she was supposed to pay all the electricity bill.
Oh, she was supposed to pay all the electricity bill for her apartment, not for your shop. Did your lease require?
It's all connected in one meter, and that was in the agreement when she moved in.
Show me, because I would think that you have to be crazy to say, I'll pay for my apartment and your shop too, even if you only use the shop occasionally. That's ridiculous.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Julia Shariat says former landlord Bernard Southard tried to poison her with pesticide. Julia is also accusing Bernard of propositioning her for sex.
Do you have a written lease with her?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it? Okay. Did you pay for any water usage when you were there?
No.
Because this says that you shall be responsible for the utilities, including water. Now, Mr. Southard says that you didn't pay for the water, but he has to show me the water bills. You have water bills?
No, ma'am, I did not bring the water bill.
How large is this apartment? Put your hand down. I don't need you.
Okay, it
How
was
large
about
is this apartment?
probably 15 to 1,700 square feet. Had virtually no heated, only heated one room. He was in the shop and warehouse 10 to 12 hours a day most of the time. I
Let me
need
see
to
the
say
bill.
also something about the shower. It was
I didn't
loaded.
ask you about a shower. Let me see the bill, the electricity bill.
Okay.
Springfield, Illinois. It gets very cold in the wintertime, doesn't it there?
I was living in about 50.
I'm asking you if it gets cold there.
Yes. Very cold. Yes.
And you were there September, October, November, December, January, and February. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. This says the entire amount due was $834.
I applied for low energy assistant. They paid for over 200 and some, so that's deducted.
The bill here is $834. Is that right? You told me $1032.
But then low energy assistant paid for 200 some.
So you didn't pay for it.
Not for the 1,000, but the 834 is still standing.
Ay, why?
Well, the reason I brought this was because, see, I felt he was using my assistance program for his benefit, ma'am.
You don't get credit for that. Why did you tell me it was $1,032?
It was until they stepped in and helped. But I felt he was using my assistance program to his benefit since he used this shop
So what
10
should
to
I do
12
with that?
hours.
Give you the credit for it?
I just don't like users. I felt you should know that I did apply for the energy assistance, and at first it was $1,000. That was hard to apply for. It's demeaning, and I didn't like to do that.
Your Honor,
So your bill was really $100 a month for electricity that includes heat, is that right, in your apartment?
I did have heat in one room, yes.
Whether you had heat in one room or a half room, you had heat in the apartment in Illinois in December.
Your Honor,
What?
the heaters was in the other rooms. They was 220. She had her little
Listen to me. You
110
caused
heater.
the problem, sir.
Pardon?
You caused the problem. The problem is, if you rent an apartment, you should have separate meters for every part of the premises that you're renting. Now, you didn't have a separate meter, so now I'm going to have to make a calculated guess as to what portion of this electric bill I'm attributing to you, because it's unjust for her to have to pay for anything in your shop. So her entire bill was $800 for 8 months. I'm attributing $25 a month to you, sir. $75 a month to the plaintiff. Electric heat is very expensive. That includes lights and everything else. $75 a month doesn't seem like an awful lot for electric. Does it seem like a lot for electric with electric heat? Not to me. Once lived in an apartment that had electric heat. I got my first bill, $600. It was a 3-room apartment. Okay, so we are up to $600. $400 for the security deposit and $200 that I'm giving you credit for towards your electric bill. That's his responsibility. Now let's get to the sexual harassment, which is the other part of your claim.
After 2.5 months of living there, he resented the fact that I was going back with an old boyfriend. He got on a revenge trip and he started just barging into my apartment. He walked upstairs into my bathroom one morning and then actually took a step into my bedroom. That's when he went too far. I called the sergeant, and here's a report. She felt like it was so threatening.
Don't tell me
to
what she felt. I'm not interested in hearing what you think she felt.
Okay.
Listen to me. You filed this report December 30th. You stayed on January, February, March with a man that you say is threatening you. He threatened her.
By his presence, by his barging in, yes.
That's not what it says here. It just says, and he has threatened her, is what you told the police.
I felt like if I didn't be overly nice or friendly, I mean, then he would pull tactics as poisoning. That's threatening.
Moo.
I didn't want to go into government housing.
Then you must not have felt that threatened.
Yeah, but I would have had to give my dog up. When you weigh it out, which is better?
Well, if someone is threatening me, trying to poison me, feel as if he is going to stalk you by coming into your home unannounced and do other dastardly deeds to you, I would prefer to live in a cardboard box under a bridge. I'm giving you $600, madam. That is $400 for your security deposit, which you are entitled to. I don't believe that he sexually harassed you in any way.
He offered
I am giving
me
you
$50 for a job.
What?
He offered me $50 for a job.
Did you turn him down?
You betcha.
Good. And $200 for the credit on your electricity. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
her own brother was there from California, said she was mentally ill.
My brother even stepped in and said, leave her alone.
She lied all the time, she always did.
He started yelling, get off my property, and I had a lease there. And, you know, I mean, it was just insane.
You know, it's clear that she's obviously had some psychiatric care throughout her life.
I believe firmly, look into the background of a landlord.
Llewellyn, step forward, please.
30-year-old court collector Laura Holliday and 20-year-old Autumn Presley are suing 23-year-old cashier Erica Llewellyn for attorney's fees resulting from a false police report. Erica claims Laura and Autumn keyed her car.
Who is Miss Halliday?
I am.
And Miss Priestley, that's...
Presley.
Presley? Mm-hmm. Okay. According to your complaint, you believe that the defendant falsely accused you of keying her car, as a result of which you were arrested, had to hire an attorney, and ultimately, I assume, found not guilty. And you want her to pay the attorney's fees. Mm-hmm. And some small amount for harassment. The defendant says she believes she had good cause to notify the police of your involvement in vandalizing her car. So the first thing I have to know is, how do you ladies know each other?
My husband has a son with her.
Your husband has a child with the defendant?
Correct.
How long are you married?
3 years.
How old is your child?
He'll be 4 in February.
And you?
A child also with her husband.
And you have a child with her husband?
Her husband.
With her husband? And how old is your child?
She will be 4 in March.
He must have been very busy for you a few years ago. Do you have any children with him?
No.
Okay, so that's how you know each other. Each of you have 4-year-olds with her husband.
Yes.
And you two are friends.
Mm-hmm.
When did this alleged incident of vandalizing your car take place?
In between the dates of March 16th and to the 18th of 2001.
On the 16th, the car was okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you find on the 18th?
I had really bad key marks on both sides of my car. I had it on the trunk and on the hood.
Can I see pictures of it? Do you have pictures?
I do not have pictures.
Okay. Do you have a police report?
Yes, I do.
Can I see the police report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I assume there's no question that you contacted the police and gave the police at some point the plaintiffs' names as the perpetrators of this act of vandalism.
Yes,
when did you do that? How much after the incident?
Almost a week.
It was on the 26th of March.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what happened on the 26th of March that suggested to you that the two plaintiffs were responsible for the damage?
My next door neighbor, I hadn't talked to her within that week, came over.
Told you something?
Yeah.
Is your next door neighbor here?
No, she's not.
Well, that's interesting, because your testimony with regard to that would be hearsay. However, there are certain exceptions to the hearsay rule. And one of those exceptions is, if I don't take it for the truth of the statement, but merely that it was said to you that caused you to do something else, which in this case would be to call the police, I can hear what she told you and then make a determination myself as to whether or not she actually told it to you.
Okay.
Not whether she saw it, but whether she told it to you. All right, so you had a conversation with your neighbor. Tell me what your neighbor said to you.
She told me that Saturday night that she seen a white Jeep parked across the street, and she sat there and watched them for a little bit, and she said she seen them walk over and keep my car and then take off laughing.
Did she describe the people?
She did describe the people. She actually said they were both white. She said that they had long hair and they were a little bit thick. Well, I don't know how to explain it, but they were bigger women.
Do you have any police reports?
These are the copies of what she has as her statement.
She didn't give me anything but one sheet of paper. Okay. Is there any interview in this police report from your neighbor?
No, the neighbors, none of her witnesses showed up in the court either that dismissed the case.
My neighbor is extremely sick.
That doesn't prevent the police from going and taking a statement.
Right. When I told them who it was and where she was, they did not even take any kind of initiative to talk to her.
I have a statement from the car dealership. My car was in the shop the week of the 15th to the 20th.
Let me see. So you actually never went to trial in this case?
No.
To whom it may concern, this Jeep Cherokee was at Extreme Auto Credit, Inc. for repairs. Did you show this to the police?
The police never contacted us. We gave it to our attorney.
Yeah.
Now, what would make you think that these two, other than this statement, which I find difficult to believe because the fact that this alleged witness who told you about what she saw couldn't come to this court today, there's certainly no reason why this witness couldn't go to a local court, right?
Yeah, but
Okay.
she's extremely sick.
Well, maybe she's too sick to see what she said she saw. What would make you think that these two women would do such a thing to your car?
I've had problems with Miss Halliday for years, and just this year I just started having problems with Miss Priestley.
Why would you have problems with them?
I've been back and forth in court for like the last 4 years because
what?
she's taken me to court for stuff that she has said I've done that I haven't.
Like what?
Like judgments. She's took me to court for trying to get restraining orders against me several times.
Yeah.
She stated that I stalked her and all this, and I've never stalked her.
Couple of basic questions. Put your papers down. Did you ladies know each other before you had this mutual Don Juan? What's his name, by the way, your husband?
Ernie.
Ernie. Before Ernie, did you ladies know each other?
No.
No.
So it would be fair to say that any disputes that you've had, and I assume that there have been some negative feelings about children, child support, visitation, seeing all these children, that without Ernie, you would not have any problems with each other. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Probably.
Do these children visit Ernie?
Yeah, Ernie has full custody of 2 of them.
Of both of these children?
No.
No.
He had joint with her. We have a custody trial coming up in April.
So the child lives with
Me.
you. And what about your child?
Mine lives with him.
Lives with Ernie and lives with you.
Correct.
For how long?
About a year now.
Ernie has other children?
Yes.
How many more children does Ernie
Ernie
have?
has 5 children.
Ernie has 5. She says 6.
By 5 different people. We also had I was with Ernie for 6 years before them two had got together, and we had a daughter together that unfortunately passed away.
That was the 6th, I
ma'am.
assume that you're talking about. You think you're going to stay with Ernie forever?
I don't know.
If I were an odds maker, I would say no. So I'm going to give you all a little bit of advice. You didn't ask me for it, but you're here, and you're a captive audience, so I'm going to tell you. You're making a fool over yourselves, each of you, for somebody that's probably not worth being a doormat for you to wipe your feet on.
I agree.
I mean, the fact that you got snookered in by this thing for some periods of time, for 4 years, for 5 years, for a year, it's a mistake. But to be involved in litigation, to be involved in harassing each other, just ridiculous. Don't you agree? You got to put a stop to it.
Yes, ma'am, I agree.
We tried at one point. We were getting along at one point, and I loaned her money to get her license back and such, and she never paid me back. That's what one of the court cases was about.
She never gave me a chance to pay her back.
Whatever. So it seems to me, this sounds almost like a communal marriage. Listen, you all don't have to really like each other. The fact that you have this common thread in Ernie is unfortunate, but it doesn't make you family. I mean, I assume you have to go over there to pick up your child who Ernie has custody of. Do you have other children?
Yes, I do.
How many other children?
I have 2 other children.
Where do they live?
With me.
Well, why does this child live with Ernie?
Because Ernie has custody of her.
Did you voluntarily give Ernie custody of the 4-year-old?
Yes, I did.
Why would you do that?
Because we were going through court at the time, and they were trying to have me pay for something that I shouldn't have been paying for
Like
when...
what?
I think it was from when she was born, and he just took over the responsibility to pay the bill. So, in order for him to take over the bill, he had to have custody.
Come on, you're being a little obtuse here. Give it to me straight.
That's
No.
why he got custody.
No.
Yes.
No. You mean if he pays the bill, he gets custody? That's why they gave him custody? Was that your contract with him? Was that your agreement with him?
No, it wasn't a contract.
Bunch of wackos. You're all a bunch of wackos. You have no case. She probably had grounds to call in a report that she believed that you had damaged her car. The fact that your car may have been in the shop, may not have been in the shop, that also was hearsay, by the way, the letter that you gave me. And you probably have done the same thing to her. How many times have you been to court with her?
I went to court with her a few times. One time was when she kicked in my door and came at me with a butcher knife. The other time was when the police had to remove her from my property.
So you've been involved a few times with each other?
Yes, ma'am. That was the same day that she was talking.
Listen, you want to make fools over yourselves.
I don't.
With regard to Ernie's tentacles, you're going to continue to do that.
I have
and
nothing
I
to
can't
do with
help you,
Ernie.
but we certainly aren't going to reward you. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I have never stalked her. I have never harassed her.
I have reports to prove she came to my house with the butcher knife.
They keep my car. They don't want to admit it, but they did keep my car.
She made it about Ernie and it wasn't about Ernie.
Maybe it's a jealous thing or something. I have no idea.
She just can't leave him alone.
I have not wanted Ernie for 3 years.
She wants him and he doesn't want her.
Fair versus fair. Step forward.
22-year-old makeup artist Kelly Luster is suing her ex-boyfriend, 33-year-old general contractor Herbert Fair, for unpaid credit card charges and for the balance of a computer.
Ms. Luster, according to your complaint, the defendant is your former boyfriend.
Correct.
And there was a time when you allowed him to make purchases on a credit card.
Correct.
When you broke up, you put a stop on that credit card and said that you no longer wanted him to be able to make purchases on it. And the next day or something, he made $677 worth of payments on the credit card. You say that there have been no payments on that amount, and you want him to pay you that amount because you're not together anymore, and you don't want to be bothered with him and come chasing him, and the bank is looking for you, and it affects your credit.
Correct.
In addition, you allowed him to purchase a computer on your credit card.
We opened up a gateway account, and it was under my name because I had good credit. And we paid the payments together. We lived together for about 3 years, and the payments were fine. We paid them together. And as soon as we broke up, I was paying the payments, and the computer remained at his house.
He agrees that he put that money on the credit card, $677.
I do.
And what's left on the computer is what?
The amount is $1,357.88.
Now, Mr. Fair says he did pay for a substantial amount of the computer, and he does acknowledge that there is an additional amount owing on the computer. His defense is that he made some sort of a loan for some plastic surgery that you had.
It doesn't matter what the loan was, Your Honor. I just basically...
He loaned me money.
I lent her money. I just...
Well, that's what you say in your answer.
Doesn't
so you
matter
want
what
to tell
it
me
is.
about this loan that you say negates the $677 as well as the $1,357 that's left on the computer that is in your possession.
This is true.
Well, tell me.
Well,
What
basically,
loan did you make her?
I gave her a loan. It doesn't really matter what it was. I mean, I was with her for 3.5 years, and I was basically, putting her through school and doing some things, for her. And basically, I felt that I didn't have to make the payments no more on the computer because of so much money that I had invested into this relationship as well.
Your Honor, I paid him back the loan that he gave to me. So that has nothing to do with the computer. I paid him back every single dime that he lent me. So it has nothing...
Did you?
Yes.
But she was supposed to pay me back, but she didn't pay me back on time.
But I still paid him back. He was still paid back. I mean...
How much did you borrow from him?
I borrowed $3,000 from him, and he was paid back every single dime.
That
he wasn't
correct,
paid
sir?
back exactly.
I was paid it back, yeah, but not the time that I was told that I was going to be paid back.
Were you paid back before you broke up?
Yes.
Yes.
So it wasn't an issue.
Yes, I don't even know why he's even bringing that up. I think he's just using that because he knows that he owes me for these things.
So what is your defense, sir? I don't know what your defense is, Mr. Fair. If that's not your defense...
I mean, like I said, 3.5 years of being into this relationship with her and stuff, and I took care of her basically for 3.5 years. I felt that I didn't need to pay these both bills, and these are basically it between her and I. So.
As you can see why I don't want to be with him any longer. I paid him back every single dime that...
He says that you paid him back.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with the money that he owes me. And he knows that he owes me this money, and he's just trying to make excuses and make up stupid things. I even have proof. I have the bills, if you want to see them.
He doesn't deny the bills, Miss Luster. He doesn't deny the bills, and he doesn't have a defense. So judgment
He never does.
Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,034.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so excuse you may step out.
He knew that he owed me money, and he knew that I had proof. So he didn't want to look like an idiot.
I just didn't feel that I, should be paying these bills.
I think everybody makes contributions when they're in a relationship.
Things that, most guys do for, their girlfriends. They just pretty much take care of them. And that's what I did.
And I think that has nothing to do with anything.
That's the way I feel.
20-year-old nurse's aide Amanda Carrico for dental work, car insurance, and a phone bill.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 258 on the calendar, the matter of Pearson versus Carrico. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Pearson, the defendant is your daughter. Correct. And your stepdaughter, sir.
That's right. We call her daughter because we've always called daughter, never used the word step.
But you are not her biological father.
Right.
Did she always live with you?
No, ma'am.
Who did she live with?
When John and I got married in 1998, she was a senior in high school, and she didn't want to leave her senior year in high school to move to Florida with us. So I let her live with her grandparents, her father's parents.
So she lived with her paternal grandparents.
Correct.
Last year in high school. Then, according to your papers, she came to live in Florida with you.
She moved out with her grandparents, and then she moved in with her father. And then she got mad at her father, and she left her father, and she was living from friend to friend to friend to friend's house. She didn't have a permanent address.
Whatever, so she came to live with you.
Then she came to live with us, correct.
Your complaint says that she owes you for certain things, because evidently she didn't stay in your house very long. She moved out, and while she was there, she had some dental work. So you say she owes you for her dental work?
Correct.
She owes you for some car insurance?
Correct.
And telephone bill. Okay. When did you go and live with your parents?
June of this year. I moved down there because my mother was sick and I wanted to make a new beginning for myself, so I moved down there to help my mother.
But things weren't going so smoothly for you.
Well, when I moved down there, I did not know anybody, and
No. When you were living with your father and your grandparents, things weren't going so smoothly, is my question.
My stepmother just caused a lot of problems between me and my father.
Did there come a time then that you moved out of your father's house? Were you living with various friends for a while?
I lived with 2 roommates.
Now, you came down in June, and then you started to have some problems with your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it.
I moved down there and I started having excruciating pain in my mouth and swelling, and my mother agreed to take me to the dentist.
Just answer my questions. When was this that you started to have this excruciating pain?
About 2 weeks after I moved down there.
And how old were you at that time?
20.
Were you working?
Not at that time, no.
So you took her to the dentist?
Correct.
And she had what kind of problem?
She had wisdom teeth impacted, and one of them in particular, but they all needed to come out.
So what did you tell her?
So it was my husband's thing. He said, we can't leave her in pain.
Absolutely.
He said, Amanda made a big deal, Your Honor, about being emancipated. So she got herself emancipated the year before. So we told her, you emancipated yourself, you're responsible for your own bills.
Just to say, tell me about the dentist. What did you say to your daughter about taking care of the teeth?
We told our daughter before we took her to the dentist that we agreed to take her to the dentist to help her. We also told her it was not a gift, it was a loan. She would have to start paying us back when she got a job.
Did that happen?
They told me that I would have to pay them back, and I said, I cannot afford it. I will wait for my insurance from my new job. And they said, no, we cannot leave you in
that's not
pain.
true.
That we would help you, and when we're down the road, when we're old and need bread and Velveeta cheese, as John said, I could pay them back that way by getting that for them.
What kind of job were you expecting?
I was waiting to hear back from a physician's complex as a referral coordinator, Your Honor.
Did you get that job?
Yes, I did.
Are you still working there now?
No, I
she
do
lost
not.
it.
Shh. Okay. Now tell me about the car.
Okay. Amanda was working for this major physician's place in Orlando. I've been very ill and been diagnosed with some severe medical problems, but I was getting up every day, taking her back and forth to work, picking her up from work. My husband thought it was taking too big of a stress on me, and it truly was. So we agreed, we talked to Amanda, because at this point in time, she was doing everything. She was going to work, she was paying off her bills in Indiana, she was doing, basically what she needed to do as a responsible young adult. So she could not get a car on her own. And so my husband and I, we did not want our name on the title of the car. So therefore we chose not to co-sign a loan for her because she has wrecked so many automobiles in the past. And we didn't want to be sued if she wrecked this one. So we took money out of our savings. And
how much?
$7,700 some.
$7,700 and some odd dollars.
And you purchased her a car?
We purchased her a car with a 3-year warranty, bumper to bumper.
And that was clearly a gift?
No.
No, ma'am. That was...
Well, that's what I thought parents were for.
It's not part of this suit because it's a contract agreement.
Which she signed.
Okay.
So
you
she
purchased this car.
$254 to us a month for her car payment, just like she would if she borrowed from a bank or lending institution. And we even only charged her the interest that we was losing off our savings account. We wasn't making money off of her, nothing, just the interest we lost off the savings. So she had a very low interest rate. She has yet to make one payment.
I don't feel that I need to.
Well, I'm not getting into the car, because the car is something that you say is not part of the suit, but certainly you are claiming the insurance.
Correct.
Did you pay the full year's insurance at one
Yes,
time?
before, because in the state of Florida, you have to have at least 2 months worth of insurance before you can even take the car off the lot. There again, she had no money.
So how much did you lay out for the insurance?
The insurance came to $404.26.
Okay. And the last bill is a phone bill.
Oh, Your Honor. Your Honor, my daughter loves to talk. There's no doubt about it. When she was living in Indiana, my father co-signed to get her a cell phone bill. She ran it up to over $600. That's on her credit
That cell
report.
phone bill was that much because I kept the contract.
Doesn't matter.
Whatever.
So when she came down here to live with us, she started getting involved with the internet people. And this is why she's mad. Because she got involved with people off the internet and she would call them constantly on the phone. Three-way calling, regular calling, whatever. And she ran our phone bill up to a grand total of $690.32.
No.
Then, Your Honor, she had the audacity before she left to say, well, she paid $100 before, and then she says, she wrote us a check, and right here it is, $250, and then she gave us $50 in cash, and then she was going to pay us the rest. She stopped payment on the check.
Because of the way I was being treated. I do not feel that my
so
mother should sit there and let my stepfather call me a slut and tell me that he thinks the only reason I'm on the internet is because I'm so hard up for sex that I have to meet people off the internet. And when I looked at him and told him I was not a slut, he goes, well, it doesn't sound like that to me. And then time after time told me that I do not deserve to live in their house, that I belong out on the streets, and he's this close from kicking me out where I belong.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kimberly and John Pearson are suing Kimberly's daughter, Amanda Carrico, for unpaid bills. Amanda says they filed the lawsuit because they don't agree with her lifestyle.
Okay. Sounds to me as if when you came down to live with your mom and your stepfather, they really tried to do what was right in order to get you on your feet. You're 20 years old, still a baby. You have to understand that, Miss Pearson. Still a baby.
Correct.
20 going on 12. I want to tell you something. I have tremendous sympathy for you with regard to two of the bills that you talk about. One of them is for the car insurance.
Correct.
And one of them is for the phone bill.
Right.
Because God knows I've seen some of those in my time. Not mine. Me, take care of your business, no adjectives, no adverbs. You finish your conversation, you go, but I've had teenagers, and they can sit and talk about the color of the moon for 6 hours. I don't have a heck of a lot of sympathy over the dental bill, and I'm going to tell you why. Because as a parent, even when you're talking about a 20-year-old child, she doesn't have any money, and she's in excruciating pain. You don't first negotiate with her that when she gets a job, she's going to pay you back for this dental work, or even put her in a position of saying to you, listen, I'll wait and won't have my wisdom teeth, my impacted wisdom teeth pulled until after I can get insurance. You take care of the bill because that's what you have to do because you're a parent.
Your Honor, let me explain though.
Sure.
Please, on the dental bill, Amanda made such a big issue of getting herself emancipated so that she could get something for nothing.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, I can tell you, she had a scholarship in Indiana to go to any university in the state of Indiana. It's called a 21st Century Scholar. And she basically failed out of the first semester.
Okay.
Okay? No. And so she messed up. She got mad because John and I made too much money for her to qualify for federal and state money. And so we let her dad use her dad's income when she applied the second semester for the money. Her dad made too much money. Well, she'll show us she's going to get emancipated, and then if she's got a court document that says she's emancipated, she automatically qualifies for federal money because she doesn't make hardly any money. So there again, she goes to try to get something for nothing.
Well.
But see, then this little lady, you know, she goes and she takes and she takes and she takes.
Miss Pearson, listen to me.
She's got to stop taking.
Just a second. Are you telling me that the reason your daughter didn't go to college is because she didn't get scholarship?
She went to college.
She went to college,
yeah,
but she flunked out.
No, I did not flunk out.
Well, 1.0 GPA, Amanda, is flunking.
That's not my GPA.
Well, it's below a 2.
Hey. No.
Okay.
She wasn't there.
What my husband did for her is she said she didn't want to move to Florida because she earned this scholarship and she had to live in Indiana. My husband told her that's bull. He said, you're not limited to Indiana. Amanda, if you want to move down with your mother, he said, I'll pay your way to any college you want to go. I will pay your way. Offered that to her.
He would have asked me to pay that back as well.
No, we wouldn't have. We offered that to her.
Okay, let's get to the dental bill. I don't think it's right for you to say to her as a parent, which is what's causing this conflict, you have to pay for this dental work that was done, even though you had no money at the time. I cannot imagine myself saying that to any of my 20-year-old children. If they were in excruciating pain, having a discussion with them before I took them to the dentist about paying me back once I started working, or else I wasn't going to pay for the bill. I cannot imagine. Quite frankly, I cannot imagine that.
Your Honor,
it wasn't a what if.
To me, that's not.
It wasn't a what if, Your Honor. It was just another point to say, Mandy, okay, we have bailed her out so much. We have bought her so much, bailed her out of her bad check debt. She's got 3 cases in Indiana against her. She's got bad checks all over Florida.
Miss Pearson,
but
I'm
Your Honor,
sympathetic.
but you got to understand, we can't bail her out anymore. She wants to be emancipated and be on her own and be the big girl. Then by George,
Your
step
Honor.
up to the plate and be the big girl.
Well, she's got to be on her own
If
with
they feel
regard
like
to
they keep
what?
giving and giving and giving, and I don't, and I just keep taking and I don't give anything back, then why didn't they quit giving so much long ago if they felt that way?
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Don't act immature. Not here.
That's fine.
It's clear to me that you've gone through a long period of immaturity. Not bad. Immaturity. You've taken on financial responsibilities and you've defaulted on those financial responsibilities that your parents, mother, stepfather, father, have at various times come in and bailed you out of those problems that you had. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
I have a sense that your mother wouldn't be here today if you weren't assuming a posture of, for want of a better word, arrogance. You did move out of their house.
Yes.
In the home of somebody that you met on the internet.
Yes,
Is that
Your
a
Honor.
fair statement?
Yes.
As a parent, I'm going to tell you that a parent says, what kind of craziness is that? They worry about it. They think it's not responsible. You don't know this person really other than having a conversation with them over that machine. You may meet them a couple of times. Now, I hope it works out. It's
worked out wonderfully.
Well, for the moment, it's working out wonderful. 6 months from now, I'll see you here and the person here. Trust me on that. Okay. I don't think that your parents are here just because they want money. I think that they're here because they want a certain measure of responsible behavior. And if you ran up a phone bill like that, and if you're driving around in a car and they covered the insurance for the first couple of months, that to me is totally different from taking care of an emergency dental bill.
The dentist was going to let it wait until she got her insurance, but I just
They
couldn't stand
insisted.
to see her in that much pain.
Absolutely
And
right.
and I said to her, Amanda, I can't take it. If you're in pain, we'll take care of it now.
Good. That's what I figured you'd say. Because that's what a parent says.
We love our daughter, Your Honor. We
I
love her enough to
assume
let her
that you
hate us
do.
right
I
now.
assume that you do, and
If
you just
do,
don't
then
understand.
You would let that man say what he said about me, about calling me a slut and calling me street trash.
That's not true.
Numerous
May I
times.
say something, Judge?
Who are you?
I'm Jean.
I know Eugene. Who are you?
Okay.
How are you related to this case?
I'm a friend of Kim and John's. And
No, you can't say anything.
Okay.
I don't think that anything that you have to say will make anything any better between the two of them, and that's quite frankly what I'm trying to do. Make things better between the two of them, not make things worse between the two of them with more accusations. Right now, Ms. Pearson has, quite honestly, at this point, acknowledged the fact that she said to her daughter, I can't stand to see you in pain. Go have the dental work done, and I'll take care of it, because that's what a mother does. I think the insurance on your car is something different, and I think that you should pay them back for that. And I think that the phone bill that you ran up, you should pay them back. And you didn't tell me that you stopped payment on this check that you gave them.
I did because of the way they were treating me, and when I went to get my stuff, it required 3 police officers for me to go get my stuff, because when I arrived to get my mail, my mother and my stepfather informed me I needed to get my mail and leave, and I needed to sign this $76 check that was left over from the insurance they paid. I signed it over to him.
The tax,
I had
We bought your tax.
$131 payroll check, which they had opened, along with my ATM card, my ATM PIN code, and my license plate and registration to my car that they had opened with my name on it.
Amanda, you
And
moved out 3 weeks
told
ago.
me-
If you didn't want us to
No,
get
no,
your
no,
mail,
no.
stop payment on it. I mean,
told me
stop it.
before
Miss Pearson.
I left the house that unless I signed that payroll check over to them, they wouldn't even consider giving me my stuff.
That's not
and
true.
they said if I do not leave,
That's not true,
they're
ma'am.
not asking me
No,
to leave,
Miss
they're
Pearson.
telling me to leave.
Miss
And
Pearson.
that they will call the law. And I said, that's fine. I went to walk to my room, and my stepfather got up off the couch and came toward me, and I have no doubt he would have done something about it.
Amanda,
And
he
she
didn't
was
even
there.
move.
Miss Pearson.
She was there.
Don't speak to her. She's made up this thing in her head, and you're not going to get it out of her head right now. Amanda, you have one mother. You will have one mother your whole life. Before they moved to Florida, Did you live with your mother?
Yes,
And you lived with your mother for how long?
for all my life.
And she took care of you?
To the best she could, yes, she did.
And then when you decided to stay, she kept in touch with you while you were living with your grandparents?
Off and on, causing problems and stuff, but yes.
Well, that's your perception of it. Kept in touch with you when you were living with your father?
A little.
And during that time, you were having some problems?
Yes.
And then when push came to shove, they said, come down. They took out almost $8,000 and bought a car for you. Now, the fact that they expected you to pay for that once you got a job, that's not unreasonable. So I don't think that your mom's a bad gal. I think that she's probably wrong for having brought this matter to a court. But I think she has a certain frustration because I assume since you moved out, you haven't spoken to each other.
No.
But when push comes to shove and you need a kidney, you only have one mother. The mother and stepfather, they're going to take care of your dental work because that's what I think that they intended to do anyway. And I sort of believe the statement about Velveeta cheese that you made a little while ago. You know, when we're old and we need you, you'll pay us back. But I think that you're responsible to take care of the car insurance on a car that you're currently driving and for a phone bill that you racked up. I also think that you might want to take this opportunity to at least open up a dialogue with your mom. You have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have a 14-year-old that's living with them, which they informed me that they were going to keep away from me by putting a restraining order against me for.
Okay. Things are hot. You got to bring them down a decimal. You got to look around where you are today and say there are a lot of terrible things going on in this world today. And these irritations that I'm having compared to everything else that's going on really don't amount to anything. And the importance of family, the importance of staying together and being close to each other and having each other for support is really the most important thing you can do now. Otherwise, you're alone. So I have a sense that's really what your mother wants, and that's why she brought you here, maybe to open up a little bit of a dialogue. So, Amanda, you're young. Young people take longer to get over anger, especially when they feel as if they've been disrespected. Trust me, just think about thousands of people that don't have an opportunity to make up with their mothers. Okay? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,094, which represents the phone bill as well as the $404 for insurance. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think she was right on the money.
I feel that it was handled very well.
We're practicing tough love.
I've got to speak my piece and defend myself.
We love our daughter enough to let her hate us right now, and we hope that she'll see the light.
Parties on Gonzalez versus Henderson. All parties on Gonzalez versus Henderson. Step forward, please.
Vicky Gonzalez and Bruce Henderson fell in love. They lived in a car. Now they are fighting over their mobile home.
Order, all rise. Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is number 32 on the calendar in the matter of Gonzalez versus Henderson.
Thank you, Bert.
Be seated.
Ms. Gonzalez, I've read your complaint and I've read your answer, sir. You say you were involved in a relationship with Mr. Henderson. He was your boyfriend for a while. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
It was a rather tumultuous and violent relationship at times. It says in your complaint that you moved in and out of relatives' homes, parents' homes, etc., and you finally ended up living in his car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Which was a 1970 Ford Mustang.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you had a fight in the Mustang, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And when you separated, he sold you the Mustang for $1,500. And then later he came by your sister's house where the car was parked and stole the car out of the driveway.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why were you sleeping in this car?
Because when I was living with my sister, Bruce came over on occasions, and a couple of times he pushed me around and stuff, and the neighbors called the police out, and they had to remove the Bruce from the house.
No, they didn't,
my
Your Honor.
sister. And my sister.
No, they didn't, Your Honor.
Well, I'm still trying to get to how come you got to live in this car.
Yes. Okay. So I ended up breaking up with him, and the next day I got back together with him because I felt sorry for him. And then my sister said that she did not want Bruce at the house, so I told her that fine, I would move out with him.
And so then you ended up in the car.
We ended up in the car.
Wonderful. Not very good judgment, madam.
No, Your Honor.
Now, you say, sir, that you would never have sold her this car for $1,500 because it was a prized possession of yours. It's worth a lot more, these old Mustangs.
Yes.
You say that he gave you a bill of sale?
Yes, he did.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, you may, Your Honor.
And, Your Honor, the registration and the identification, the insurance card, she stole it out of the car.
Well, first, let me see if he gave her a bill of sale for the car.
All right.
Did you sign this, sir?
No, ma'am, that don't look like my
Did you sign that?
No.
Mm-hmm. You know what your problem is, Miss Gonzalez?
No, Your Honor.
I'm going to tell you what your problem is. You spelled his name wrong on the bill of sale.
I didn't, Your Honor.
I want you to take a look at what. I want you to take a look. It's going to show you. I'm going to show you the bill of sale.
Like I said, Your Honor.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
You're not supposed to talk when you're winning, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a cardinal rule in the court. When you seem to be winning, you're not so. Why in the world would he spell his name wrong on that document, on everything else that you have, madam?
Your Honor, his name is not spelled wrong.
Sure it is. There's an E at the end.
That's not an E. That's just a loop he added onto it.
No, it's an E.
Your Honor, I did not
Let me
sign
see
this, and nobody forged this. I took that home the same day to my sister. I did not forge the signature. Otherwise, the DMV would have stopped it right there.
Let me hear from you, sir. Did you sell her this car?
No, Your Honor, I
How'd she
didn't.
manage to get the car in her possession for you to take back?
Well, what it was we got into a fight, and I got out and I walked, and she took off, and
I just want to go through with you once more before I make a decision in this case, Miss Gonzalez. First, were any of these letters written to you after this breakup?
There was one of them.
Wait, would you give these back to her? Let her find out.
This one right here was written after the breakup.
After the breakup.
It's
Can I
not.
see it?
It's not signed. This was written. This is one of the ones he brought me the day that he came to my work. The day he stole back the car, he brought me that letter.
Okay.
Before, when he asked me for the keys, the car, so he could borrow it to go to the interview, he brought me that letter. And there's another one. I don't remember which other one came with it, but that letter.
See, I have certain things that trouble me about what you say. And quite frankly, this is a question of who I believe, and it's very hard to tell whether or not you gave him $1,500. I mean, you have no proof as to where you got the money from.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but I wanted to add one more thing. On the bill of sale, okay, the day he gave me the car was the 13th of February. I think he took my money with the intention of taking the car back, put that thing on it intentionally, because on the date that he put on the bill of sale is the 24th, and he stole the car back before the 24th so that I couldn't put the car in my name. So that right there, he did that. He gave me the car, took my money with the intention of taking it back and keeping my money. He wrote it for the 24th, and he gave me that car on the 13th, the day before Valentine's Day.
Let me take a look. Are you saying, quiet, sir. I want to look at this really very carefully.
Okay.
So you're going to have to give me a second, because while it's true,
but there's no money. She did not give me no money. I'm just trying to point out the fact that I did not receive no money, and there's no way I want to sell the car. I'm sorry.
I don't know whether I believe you, but I heard you. Now, clearly the name is spelled wrong, but you're saying that he wrote this in his own hand. Is that right? He wrote this. Now I want to try to check the rest of it against the signature. Can I see the other letters that he sent to you? Because see the way he spells your name, the way he writes your name.
Your Honor, I did write that, but she was supposed to be taking it to my parents as a prank, and my parents didn't know about it.
Good. Now we're getting somewhere. Just a second.
No,
so
it's
now
not
what
a bill of sale.
Hey, just a second.
Wait.
No, you wait for me. Now you wait for me. So now you admit, sir, that you wrote this. Is that right?
Not the intentions to sell the car, Your Honor.
That's not my question. Did you write it?
I did not sign my name at the bottom.
Did you write it?
Letter thing. But I did not sign my name.
You did sign your name, Bruce.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Who owns the car they lived in? Will continue in a moment. Vicky Gonzalez and Bruce Henderson fell in love. They lived in a car. Now they are fighting over their mobile home.
Now that I was going to look at it, you acknowledge, sir, that you wrote this. Is that correct?
Your Honor, I wrote something to that effect, but it was not a bill of sales. I do not
says,
know what that
and
says.
I will read it. What do you mean you didn't know what it said? You wrote it. It
No,
says,
I do not know what that paper
Bruce
says.
D. Henderson, hereby give my 1970 white Ford Mustang license plate number 385BES to Vicky Gonzalez as of 2/24/96. And it's signed 2/24/96. It also has the VIN number of the car, right? And it said sold for $1,500.
No, Your Honor, I did not write that then.
Your Honor, yes, he did.
There was another one there. It was supposed to be like a paper so she could drive around with the car without me. It was supposed to be like a thing,
But Your
like
Honor, why
adding her
would he
to
do that
the
for me
insurance.
if we supposedly had this big fight
But Your
and
Honor,
he had
this
no
was...
intention of giving me the car? We were already broken up.
जिस तरह से है कि अगर आप सबसे पहले आप यूएसए लेट्स सपोज आपको चाहिए कि आपके चैनल पर यूएसए का ट्रैफिक आए तो अगर आप यहाँ से चैनल बनाओगे तो बहुत केसेस में वो ट्रैफिक इंडिया से आता है ये देखा गया लेकिन अगर आप पहले से वैसा चैनल वहीं का परचेज कर लोगे किसी सेलर से जिसने यूएसए का चैनल बनाया हो उस पर थोड़ा कंटेंट भी हो तो ऐसे में वो चैनल पहले से ही बाय डिफॉल्ट रहता है यूएसए की ऑडियंस के लिए कुछ ऑडियंस भी